Hi there, and welcome to True Talk Healed Hearts podcast. My name is Carmen, and I am your host. And here we have real conversations about truth, healing, growing, and self awareness that makes you want to change things in life. And so here we process things, we don't rush through it, we sit with it, we learn from it, and we heal. And so, on this episode today, I really hope that you can take from it what you need from it. And I hope that maybe some of the things that I do you can apply, and hopefully, it'll help you improve or it'll help you become more self aware. Let's talk about what really matters, which is growing, healing, and becoming the best versions of ourselves. And so today we'll be discussing working on yourself daily. Not when things are perfect, not when, life slows down, not only when you're broken and going through things, but consistently making a daily effort to show up and be present and be mindful of habits that we are creating daily, whether we know it or not. And when I started this process of working on myself daily, it was when I moved back home and I was in a season of isolation. And so it was an opportunity for me not only to rest after being in survival mode for so many years, but it was an opportunity for me to reflect and ask myself if I was happy about where I was in life, but also inquire where I wanted to go next. And working on myself became my new thing to improve upon, because oftentimes, we are working on improving on a job, working, for approval in general, working to save a relationship, keep or maintain a relationship. We're always working on so many other things, but we're never we never really learn how to prioritize working on ourselves. And so being intentional about showing up for yourself in small ways every day can help shape the trajectory long term of your life. Because if you don't get a grip of it earlier on, you will start to see that you just react off of what life throws at you. And you'll also start to notice that how you function in life will typically just be out of survival mode if you don't start to form healthy habits and good routines. And so I'm hopeful that you'll be able to take away some things that I do, just to help improve myself and be a better version of myself daily. And so one of the ways that I show up for myself is exercising. And I do my best to exercise every day, and it can look different. So some days I can be in the gym for an hour. Some days I can be in the gym for 30 minutes. Some days I can be in the gym for 45 minutes. And each day looks different, of course. But the most important thing is consistency and having a routine and showing up even when it's hard, showing up when I don't feel like it, showing up when I'm uncomfortable, but doing it daily helps to build discipline. But there's also, healthy benefits of exercising, which for me tends to be mental clarity, stress relief. And so Doing this helps me to have discipline in other areas of my life because it's how I start my day. I learned early on that when I was trying to be consistent with working out, it was very difficult because I didn't identify my barriers. And oftentimes in life, that's the hardest thing about um, starting new habits or building healthy habits. Identifying your barriers is going to be so beneficial because most of the time we cannot grasp why we can't do something for a long period of time. And I know for me, so many years had gone by with me starting and stopping when it came to exercising. And I had to learn, like, okay, what is hindering me from keeping this, going long term? And at the time, I was going through so many transitions in life when I first started, and that started in college. So we all know in college, different, each semester looks different, your work schedule looks different. And so trying to get a routine just wouldn't work because I was going through so many different transitions. But once I got to a place in my life where things were very plain and laid out, that helped me um, stay consistent with going to the gym. Another barrier that I had to identify was the time of the day to go. And I'm an early bird. I also work in healthcare. And so doing things after work is a no go for me because I'm already drained, I'm already exhausted. So I had to find an alternative route to take with exercising. And it became I have to get up and go before I go to work. The first 3 weeks were the hardest, but after the first 3 weeks, because they say it takes about 3 weeks to, build a new habit, after I stuck with it for the 3 weeks, I was like, okay, this is my new routine. I have to get up before I go to work to go to the gym. The other thing that was a barrier for me was finding what I was going to wear in the morning. Sometimes just thinking about that would delay me getting up. And so, what I had to do was have a bag packed with not only my gym clothes, but with also my work clothes. That way, when I returned home from the gym, I wouldn't have to go searching, for clothes to wear. It was just already in the bathroom, ready to go when I got home. And so, this habit has helped me in so many areas of my life because exercising became a domino effect of me eating healthy, which became a domino effect of um, my tasks throughout the day and how I organize them. And so it's been like a cascade effect gaining discipline in this area. So I would definitely say if you're someone who has struggled with um, working out, maybe identify your barriers as to what makes it difficult to do so, and then try to, remove those barriers the best that you can. I understand that there's some things that you can't control, but identify them, overcome them. And so, another thing that has helped me work on myself daily has been reading my Bible and having Bible time daily. And if I miss a day of Bible time, I'm definitely not missing a day of prayer time. But reading the Bible daily sets the tone for me. Um, it allows me to be at peace for the day. Uh, Having conversations with God prior to me going to work helps me to control like my mood, helps me control what I'm discussing at work, but also helps me control like what I'm thinking about. And this also can go hand in hand with like listening to the Bible app. When I work out in the morning, I sometimes listen to like music, but sometimes I will also listen to the Bible app. And sometimes it allows me to knock out two birds with one stone because I know we're always busy and probably like in a rush, or sometimes we don't, have enough time to sit down and read it. But that doesn't mean that we can't listen to it. And so doing this has really helped me grow closer to God daily and be intentional about having deeper intimacy with God daily. Um, I feel like scriptures help correct me, also helps to comfort me, but also challenges me throughout the day because it's like, how can I apply what I read today? Or how can I apply what I listened to today? And sometimes when I am maybe impatient, or sometimes when I find myself maybe complaining, it can come to recollection of what I read earlier or listened to earlier on the Bible app and say, oh my goodness, you know what, God, I am so sorry. Forgive me because I just read this scripture earlier that stated A, B, and C, and I am not living that out right now. And so I would challenge you to incorporate just some more Bible time. I get the scripture of the day, some people like to do that, but maybe dive in just like a little bit deeper. Maybe if you do a scripture of the day, maybe try doing a chapter of the day. Just being willing to go a little bit deeper and spend a little bit more time in God's presence. And that could be before you go to work. I know that works for me well, but it can also be after work. It can also be, over your lunch break, whatever time works for you, or even if you have downtime at work. Oftentimes, I feel like we say we don't have enough time to do so many different things within our day, but in reality, you just have to make time to do so. Like, instead of scrolling, could you be doing something else? You know what I mean? Or instead of having conversations that are maybe like gossiping conversations, could there be something more fruitful that you could be doing? So, or even sometimes if you binge watch shows, maybe if you eliminate watching like one of the shows for that day, there's always ways to incorporate healthier habits. It's just up to us to make the decision to do so. And so I would challenge you to try to maybe adjust where you could be more productive in your day with working on yourself, right? And also feeling your spirit, of course. So that is another way that I work on myself daily. An additional way or thing that also helps me is journaling. Journaling is something that I started when I was actually very young. My mom taught me how to journal because she stated it helped to process emotions without always needing a person to process them with. And so sometimes what I get to do is journal, yes, like about my day, but also sometimes if I'm actually reading my Bible verses instead of listening to them audibly, I will take out my journal and kind of put like favorite scripture and reflect on it a little bit deeper. Or sometimes I will like journal my prayers. for the day or journal um, like how I'm feeling after my day. So I use journaling at different points of time. It's not necessarily before I start my day, it's not necessarily after I start my day. I journal whenever I have an opportunity to do so. And I will say, for the most part, it is more so like at the end of the day. But sometimes like certain thoughts will like come to my head and I will take out my notes in my phone and I will literally have to journal out a certain thought that came to my head, whether it be an idea or whether it be how someone made me feel. I will literally take out my phone and just start typing just so I can process it. So finding different ways to incorporate journaling, I feel like, is another way to work on yourself daily. And sometimes, like, using it as an end of the day thing to kind of reflect and process is very beneficial as well. Um, but yeah, I not only utilize journaling to, process my emotions, but I also use it to track my progress. I use journaling to write out my ideas, um, release my thoughts, like I said, but also look back and reflect even further on past things that I've like written about to see if, certain things have come into fruition or I don't know. It's nice to kind of see where how far you've come. And so I think journaling helps capture that very well. Because sometimes we can, our brain can fail us at times. So sometimes we can think about certain things that we think we thought about, or we can forget about certain things that we thought about. So sometimes it's just nice to look back and see how far we've come along in our journey. So, yes, journaling is a great way to work on yourself daily. Um, and it's also like a way of gaining like wisdom and insight about yourself too. So I would take on maybe incorporating journaling sometimes. It's a nice time to not only sit with yourself, but also, like I said, sit with God. Um, but yeah, it's a great way to look yourself in the mirror per se. I have started to be more mindful of the things that I eat. This habit has come into play more recently this year. Um, I've always been someone who has eaten like whatever I want when I want, and I really haven't watched the things that I've been putting into my body up until this point. But I must say, as we're getting older, what we put into our body is so important because you start to realize that if certain things aren't fueling you, they're draining you. And there were so many empty calories at one point that I was just putting into my body, not even realizing that I'm not getting anything from it. And sometimes when your body doesn't have, the best nutrients, you feel groggy, you feel drained, you have brain fog. Um, but also, like, your body can just really start to fail you as well. And I definitely noticed more recently with like gut health. I can't just eat whatever I want anymore. And so, watching what you eat is very essential, and asking yourself, like, is what I'm eating nourishing me? Is what I'm eating um, draining me? Is what I'm eating contributing to weight gain? So kind of being more mindful of the things that we put into our body is very important. And I think a great way to choose healthy habits. And the final thing um, that I do to work on myself is positive thoughts, training myself to think positively throughout the day. And especially when I'm at work and you can't control who you're around at work, it's so easy to come into contact with people who complain or people who gossip, and you start to find that like it drains you and it can kind of weigh on you a little bit. And so, and like I said, I work in healthcare, and so I really, really have to be mindful of the things that I let affect me. Um, because it's easy to allow certain things to weigh on you, especially when people are venting to me all the time, or yeah, when I constantly have to just interact with people. It's not like I can hide in a cubicle, all day. And so typically what this looks like for me is when someone says something negative, I say something positive. When someone is gossiping or talking about something that I really don't agree with, I kind of walk the other way, try not to engage, especially if someone tries to invite me into a conversation that is not fruitful. Um, so, I'm learning that self correction is very important in this area, because it can be very easy to even have like certain self doubts or um, like just certain negative thoughts, and you got to counteract them with good thoughts. And so I feel like this part also goes back to like why scripture is important when it before like I start my day, because sometimes it makes it easier to reflect on things that I read earlier, which helps me to keep a positive mindset. But yeah, you don't always have to, dwell on the thoughts that come into your mind. Like, you definitely have to take them captive. And, if it's a bad thought, categorize it, put it away. Um, yeah. And really just try to be mindful how often you are having negative thoughts or entertaining negative things. It is hard to counteract those thoughts if that's just how your mindset has always been. But when I tell you how you think throughout the day plays such a important role on your mood, it truly does. You'll find that if you're focusing on good things are happening to you. If you are focusing on good things, when something bad happens, you can literally like not allow it to affect your mood. And so, yeah, try to think positively more often, even on those sad days, even on those days where life is life, and try to think about all the good things that are going on in your life, even the things that we take for granted. Sometimes you have to, say to yourself, I'm breathing, I'm thankful. I got to work safe today, I'm thankful. I um, have food to eat, I'm thankful. I have a roof over my head, I'm thankful. Sometimes you just have to be grateful and appreciative of the small things, even when it's hard. And like I said, even when life is lifing. But yeah, try to focus on things that are good, and that will definitely help you to um, keep a positive mindset and attitude of gratitude. So, working on yourself isn't going to, be something that's glamorous. It's not going to be something that is easy, but definitely something that is worth it. And like I said, doing it daily and trying to self correct daily and not, kind of just letting life throw things at you and not dealing with them. And then all of a sudden you blow up and then you gotta, work on yourself all at once. No, you want to maintain, you know, a good routine of consistently showing up for yourself. And it's quiet, it is repetitive, but it's intentional. And every small choice that you make compounds. So just think of depositing something into your investment account. Every day that you work on yourself, you're depositing into your self improvement account. You're depositing into the best version of yourself account. And I know that's an interesting way to put this. But like I said, we are always working on so many other things in our lives that's outside of ourselves that you kind of have to put this into a mindset of just doing daily inner work. Um, and this is something that you have to practice. This is something that you have to build. So it'll be a good thing to ask yourself today, what's one way that you can show up for yourself? It doesn't have to be all the ways that I've listed, because all the things that I've listed are things that work for me that I've learned over time. But what is just one way that you can, show up for yourself every day? If it's just exercise, that's fine. If it's just watching what you consume for now, that's fine. If it's only just journaling for now, that's fine. If it's retraining your thought process and your mindset, that's fine. If it's something else outside of what I listed, that's fine. But just get the discipline to do it every day. Even when it's hard, like I said, even when you're uncomfortable, and even when you don't feel like doing it. Because you only get one you, and it might as well be the best version of you. So that's all that I have today. I hope that working on yourself starts now. I hope you don't delay it. I hope right after this you kind of sit with yourself for a little moment and say to yourself, "Oh my goodness, what can I start working on? What do I need to work on? What are some questions that I can ask myself?" And sometimes we don't like sit in silence enough to even think about what we need to work on. What's some things that you've suppressed for so long? Because it's going to show up one way or another. It's either going to show up in your emotions and how you react to things, or it's going to show up in your body with some type of, you know, I hate to say this, but like some form of like illness, or it'll just start showing up and taking over. Um, so the things that you don't work on will just start to take over eventually. And by that time, it'll be too late. And you'll really have to do inner work. And it's going to take longer. So why not start now? Why not start unpacking the things that you need to work on sooner than later? Because the longer that you suppress it, the harder it's going to get. So I hope you took bits and pieces from this that you can, and I look forward to talking about the next topic on our next episode. Thank you for tuning in to True Talk Healed Hearts. I hope you were honest with yourself today. I hope you were truthful with yourself today. And just remember, we take time to process, we sit with it, we learn from it, and we heal. Until next time.